This video is a continuation of the string notebook and will describe Python string slicing. So at this point, we can create strings and index single characters from those strings. Slicing allows us to access multiple characters from the string. So first, let's start with the string Python. And now, similarly to indexing, we're going to use the square brackets in order to access the characters of the string. But we're going to introduce a little bit of notation so that we can access more than one or a range of characters from the string. So I'm going to write our variable word, and then I'm going to use the square brackets again like we did with indexing. And let's say this time I want to access the first three characters of the word Python. I would start with the value 0, and then I'm going to use the colon operator followed by the number 3. So the first entry in this slice, 0, is the start index, and it specifies the index of the first character in the string that we want to appear in our output. The entry that follows the colon, 3 in this case, is the stop index and is one past the last character that we want to appear in our output. Now note, it's not the number of characters we want, it's actually an index. So this means that this slice is going to start with the first index, 0, and take all characters up to but not including the character at index 3. And if we look at the output, we see exactly that. We get P from index 0, Y from index 1, and T from index 2. We do not get H at index 3. Also notice that the output of our slicing operation here is still a string. And this is true even if the slice would result in no characters. So if I were to write word 1:1, this would result in the empty string. And of course, it's true if it has one or more characters. So if I were to write word 1:2, we would get a string containing only one character, Y in this case. Similar to indexing, slices may use both positive and negative indices, and those can be mixed within a single slice. So if I were to write word and then 1:1, this will start at index 1 and go up to but not including the index -1, which represents the last character in the string. So you see in the output here that we get everything but the first and last characters of the word Python. As another example, if I were to go from -3 to 4, -3 refers to the H in Python, which happens to correspond to the positive index 3 in this case, and goes up to but not including index 4. So we get the single character string H as a result. Also, Python allows for some shorthand when dealing with slices, in that we can omit certain indices. If, for instance, you wanted to start at the beginning of the list, you may omit the first index and simply write colon, maybe 3 in this example. And this will return to all the characters starting at the beginning of your string and go up to but not including index 3. Likewise, if you wanted to create a slice that goes to the end of the string, you can omit the stop index as well. So we could write 1:, and this would return to us all characters in the string starting with index 1 and going up to the very end of the string. Notice that this does include the final character of the string. And of course, if you were to omit both indices, the slice operation will return all characters in your string. Slicing actually supports a step size as well, meaning that if we add an additional colon after our stop index, we can follow it with a step size. Now the default is 1, as we've seen, as each slice is returned each character one after the other. If, for instance, we were to write 1:6 and then add :2 here, this would actually return every other character starting at index 1. So we see that we start with the character at index 1, which is Y. We skip the character at index 2, which was T, pick up the character at index 3, H, skip the O, pick up the N at the end of the string. Now, one thing to notice here is that I'm using index 6 as a stop index, and index 6 is actually out of bounds for the string. In the previous section on indexing, we saw that when you place indices out of the range of the string, an exception is raised. With slices, things are a little bit different. If I were to write word and maybe start at index 4 and say colon 42, 42 is well beyond the end of the string. But when I run this code block, you'll see that no exception is raised. And the reason for this is a slice will start at the index given, so 4 in this case, and effectively marches through the string until it reaches the stop index, or it runs out of characters in the string. And with the ability to specify a step size, this actually makes more sense because The stop index given is not guaranteed to be a multiple of the step size, since any value can be given. And of course, because we can start from anywhere in the string. So because of these things, the slicing operation does not raise an exception when given stop indices that are out of range. And that's actually true for start indices as well. So if I was to write word 42 colon, meaning we wanted to start index 42 and continue to the end of the string, you'll see that we get the empty string as an output. And this actually does make sense when you consider what the slicing operation is doing. The slice operation is returning to you all the characters in the string between this set of indices that you've given it. And if the set of indices are out of bounds, then there are no characters in that range. And so an empty string as a result does make sense.